but I can tell that you make best of it. I greet you in the name of Christ once again. A joy to be with you. The Elvan Angels Circuit is aware that we share this time over these 4 days, and they are prayerful that we will have a meaningful time. We are continuing to look at living holy, following the footsteps of Jesus Christ in sacrificial living. And I want to say a special salute to all those who made it back. I did manage to scare you away. Thank you very much for returning. So, just to, want to thank our worship leader very much for that very accurate summary of what was shared last night. I should, as a result, cut down on my summary and just go forward. But we are exploring sacrificial living as holy living. We are seeing sacrificial living as both the way to holy living. How are we going to attain to holy living? We're not just going to wake up holy one day. We are going to grow into ever deep in holiness as we yield to God. And sacrificial living is, perhaps somebody might say, our way, but it's the way we're looking at for these days. Sacrificial living is the way to holy living. And if we are properly and fully practicing sacrificial living, then we are at the same time practicing holy living. So we want to keep sacrifice and holiness in mind this week, especially when we understand sacrifice appropriately. We are aware of the challenges there are to understanding sacrifice appropriately. The term has become diluted and devalued. We primarily think of it today in terms of what we do for our benefit, because we are removed from the sacrificial foundations of our faith. We think Christ has taken care of it, so we don't have to look at it too seriously. We treat it as transactional, emphasis on me, what I put in to get out, and it is in that respect subsumed in the so-called prosperity gospel. Ultimately, how we practice or use sacrifice today appears to be an attempt to bargain with and manipulate God to get our way. We are saying that that is a misappropriation of sacrifice. On the other hand, we also acknowledge that sacrifice is something complicated. The complication has to do with controversy in understanding sacrifice in Christian theology. Different persons see it differently. The complication has to do with the Eurocentric background for our language, where sacrifice is only seen negatively, and is complicated by the fact that sacrifice is in many of the historical religions, but in many of them it's treated very differently from how it's treated in our faith. All of this combines to compound the possibility of speaking of sacrifice precisely. But we find out this way. Somebody who has investigated sacrifice has given us the idea that it has something to do with gift, it has something to do with exchange, and it has something to do with offering. And by looking at the life of Christ, we realize that we should really put those things together. Sacrifice is the gift of our self-offering to God for divine purposes. So when we keep that in mind, we can appropriate sacrifice meaningfully. As our sister says, Jesus becomes the model, the measure, and the means, because in his incarnation, mission, crucifixion, resurrection, ascension, and ongoing intercession, Jesus fully, irrevocably, and permanently became and presents to us the sacrifice of God's self for us. And we therefore engage in sacrificial living by living the life of Christ. And don't have to do too much about humility, because that is covered. It was in humility that Jesus came and lived and worked in the world. And we challenged ourselves to practice the humility of Christ. Not our position, not our self-definition, but wading into the human condition in complete submission to God. So, we have a second characteristic that we want to look at this evening, and this is the characteristic we call simplicity. It was in simplicity that Jesus lived on daily bread and without a place to lay his head. I mean, the Son of God. Don't worry about that stuff. Okay? Was it Jesus who said sufficient until the day is the evil bearer? He depended on the kindness of friends and refused to be enticed by cheap tricks or the effort to give him honor. He was just a simple guy. And I want to walk you through a series of scriptures that will help paint a portrait of the life of Jesus that we can reflect on from this perspective. Holiness is manifested in humility. Without humility, we don't enter the way of holiness. We don't enter sacrificial living. I think that we could say the same thing about simplicity. I hope you hear me without the mic. Tell me, would you associate holy living with extravagance? Would you associate holy living with opulence? Would you associate holy living with a ostentatious lifestyle? Yes?
No.
Think about it with me. Extravagance, opulence, ostentation. When we see holiness, is that the picture we see? So, if the converse to that is simplicity, so if we hope to enter holy living, then it is not the way of opulence, it's not the way of extravagance, it's not the way of ostentation, it is the way of simplicity. So, my intention is not to give you a definition, but to look at it demonstrated in the life of Jesus. So, we're going to do a little journey through Luke's Gospel. Look at 6 or 7 passages, and then see what we can draw together as an understanding of simplicity from that, as manifested in the life of Jesus and as a challenge for us. So we begin at Luke 2. We begin right at the beginning. How Christ was born. So Luke 2, 4, 6, and 7. So Joseph also went up from Jerusalem to Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to Bethlehem, the town of David, because he belonged to the house and line of David. While they were there, the time came for the baby to be born, and she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in cloths and placed him in a manger, because there was no guest room available for them. So this is how God chose for Jesus to be born into the world. Opulence? Extravagance? Ostentation? The little song said, in some straw that was in a manger. We just don't sing that song, right? Some straw That was not me. Okay. Let's jump on a little bit. Luke 9. Luke 9, 57 and 58. Jesus is in discipleship mode. He is leading people into an understanding of the way of life that God expects. And this is crucial because Christ came to demonstrate what our relationship with God should be like, or we should live. So, 57, Luke 9. As they were walking along, a man said to him, I will follow you wherever you go. Of course, if we have somebody come and say, I would like to become a Christian, we say, oh yes, nice, come along, this is the best place. Because we are nice people here and we want our persons to come and be a part of the family. Not true. Good Christians are there. Listen to Jesus. Foxes have holes, birds have the ear and nest, but the Son of Man has no place to be. Jesus is serious about this discipleship. My turning over the man, which is pointing to the way of life that he is living. The sacrifice of coming into the world for our to demonstrate for us what life in God should be like. Did not in that cultural setting involve any form. If anybody was coming to follow him wherever he went and think it meant the best hotels or the most salubrious surroundings, he wanted to set them straight right after that. Maybe one at a time I would have asked them, they'll never hear where I was born. Here he simply says, foxes have holes, or dens, and birds have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to live. Jesus was, in this respect, remaining consistent with how he came to the world. As a matter of fact, the nests and the den might be a little bit more comfortable than how Jesus lived. At least, that's the point anyway. The foxes have a place, the birds have a place. I have no place. Number 3. Just doing Luke. For a number of reasons, I think Luke's story just speaks to us. So we're at Luke 19. Luke 19. As he approached Bethpage and Bethany at the hill called the Mount of Olives, he sent 2 of his disciples, saying to them, go to the village I love you. And as you enter it, you will find a colt tied there, which no one has ever ridden. Untie it, bring it here. If anyone asks you why are you untying it, say what? Lord needs it. Those who were sent ahead went and found it just as he had told them. As they were untying the coat, his owners asked them, why are you untying the coat? And they replied, the Lord needs it. And they brought it to Jesus, threw their cloaks on the coat, and put Jesus on it. I think there is a prophecy that this fulfilled. Speak of the Messiah coming on a coat. But it was not just a nice story to show how God can predict you. It was a way of cutting against the way of life that was Israel's temptation. Remember how Israel used to love Egypt? They didn't like the whip, but when they were in the desert, they said that we had died in Egypt. Part of what they liked was the military prowess, the horse and chariot, the technology, the militarization. And perhaps they thought of a Messiah coming. They thought in terms of coming in power. Just simple and a cool. When cookies are closed. No ostentation, no extravagance, no opulence. Every time you check Jesus, that's how he's moving. Next one. Luke 21, 37 to 38. Each day, Jesus was teaching at the temple. We're actually now into what we now call Holy Week. So this is the week leading up to the crucifixion. Each day, Jesus was teaching at the temple. And each evening, he checked into the grand something in Jerusalem. What the big hotel down there? I know. Each evening, he spent the night on the hill called the Mount of Olives. Roughly. And all the people came early in the morning to hear him at the temple. This is the same Jesus who was born in the manger. The very same one. So, at night, during this week, a crucial week of his life, gone upon the mountain. And another day, I would say some more about that, but today, it just strikes me the bare simplicity of it. Alright. Next one, Luke 22. This is I think the second to last one. How much about so far? 5. Okay, so this is number 6. Luke 22, 7 to 13. This is number 5. Okay. Luke 22, 7 to 13. Then came the day of unleavened bread on which the Passover lamb had to be sacrificed. Jesus sent Peter and John, saying, "Go and make preparations for us to eat the Passover." Poor James and John. Poor Peter and John. "Where do you want us to prepare for it?" Yeah, he replied, "As he entered the city, a man carrying a jar of water will meet you. Follow him to the house he enters. And say to the owner of the house, 'The teacher asked, where is the guest room where I may eat the Passover with my disciples?' He showed him a large room upstairs, all furnished. Make preparations there." They left and found things just as Jesus had told them, so they prepared the Passover. How do you live so? Really? It's kind of mind-boggling. Alright, last one. Luke 23. 2 other men, both criminals, were also led out with him to be executed. They came to the place called the Skull. They crucified him there along with the criminals, one on the right, one on the left. Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they're doing." And they divided up his clothes by casting lots. Actually, when you read the whole story surrounding, it's not really finished. 44 and 44 to 46 is coming up, but just a little thing. That when you read the whole story, there's a lot of stuff happening here. But the parts that have to do with Jesus, there is an equanimity and a sense of just being. That is amazing. All of this stuff going on. And imagine the Son of God saved out the world and all of that excitement and stuff, and he just says, "Father, forgive them, they don't know what they're doing." Imagine you're in that position, how we would be wrestling with ourselves. And I know many of us like the song, he could have called 10,000 angels, because that's exactly what we do. The rest of it, It was now about noon and darkness came over the whole land until 3 in the afternoon, for the sun stopped shining, and the curtain of the temple was torn in two. And Jesus called out with a loud voice, simply this, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. And when he had said this, he breathed his last. What do you make of that portrayal of the life of Christ? What do we discern about Jesus' life from these episodes that are scattered all throughout the journey as Luke records it? I'll offer some things for simplicity. Number one, Jesus did not base life on a material foundation. When you look at all of what we just told, we went through, does it sound to you as if Jesus' living was organized around having stuff?
Nope.
Does that appear to you that there was any concern here?
Let me approach this a little differently.
Compared to our concern about stuff. There are some things in life that we must have, and if we don't have them, you go crazy. And none of that stuff bothered Jesus, because his life was based on that stuff. We are told and cultured. I mean, if you ever live your life like you don't want, or you're not making the effort for some, you are seen as not ambitious. Just did not base his life on a material foundation. This is why when the person said, I want to follow, he says, look, the regular stuff that people are fussing over, they find them with me, boxes of old birds of the year and next time. My life is not based on that.
I'm troubling the ladies. But if that is the gentleman who was seeking to win your hand in marriage, will you give him any time of day? Yeah.
Nothing going on but the rent. We got to have a J.O.B.
Yes, of course.
Second, he had no anxiety about daily provision. No anxiety about daily. Look at these stories. What you get is that he went through life, and as the day came, there was this trust that what was needed would be provided. And it is not the kind of, it's not an encouraging laziness or irresponsibility. But what we have here in Jesus is a disposition that the desire for these things was not controlling of who he was and how he lived.
So, actually, Jesus tried to shape this in us. Do you know this prayer that we pray every day? Because Jesus told us to pray. Notice how this prayer goes. Give us this day. What kind of portion of bread? It's poor people prayer, you know. It's poor people prayer. It's poor people have to find food every day. Those who are not poor have 1 month's supply in the pantry.
Yeah.
And extras in the barrel, in the corner. Give us this day our daily bread is about a way of life in which is when each day comes. And it's backed up by one of our other favorite passages, Matthew 6:33. Seek first the kingdom and his righteousness, and everything else will be taken care of. I mean, don't look at the birds of the air and the flowers that don't toil. It's the same idea. No anxiety. Matter of fact, Jesus says, by anxiety, we don't even add one straw in here. Number 3. And sorry to trouble someone, but it's there in the text. He depended on the generosity of others. Part of his simplicity was his life was not based on material foundation. He had no anxiety about daily provision, and he depended on the generosity of others. We saw it 2 big times in his life. Once was when
He wanted to ride into Jerusalem. He said these guys were to just go and find his school. And I'm tired. And I really don't know what Jesus did. Even it challenged me deeply. Because the second one was with the room for the Passover.
there are two little reflections on it. One is that if anybody was living so today, we would have called them some names, you know.
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah. No, we would have called them many kind. We disparage them and how they live by other people. From another direction, people might say, well, it was his connection.
But either way, it is that Jesus chose to live with a kind of simplicity where he did not have this need to possess all the stuff. The use of them could be had from time to time as was necessary, but
Stark contrast, for example, to the practice of building huge homes where for 12 and a half months of the year you don't even see certain of the rooms. Just
utilized what was available through kind of network perhaps, but it was a choice to live simply. There was this one use for a coat, no need to have it, return into its owner. One use for this room, and then he was going to the cross. So, number 4. He made a contribution to the life of others. That's how Jesus lived. The emphasis of the passages we have looked at is on the material side and on the reflection on how he approached the fulfillment of their needs. We know well enough those passages, and Luke has many of them, how he was living for the needy, was living for the stranger, was living for the outcast. And in Luke's gospel, Jesus is portrayed in a way that emphasizes his concern for the most vulnerable in society. So the children, the women, the sick, especially those people who were sick in ways that caused them to be discriminated against, like the lepers. You know the story of the lepers, right? That the lepers had to call out when you were 100 yards or whatever the measurement was away. They had to call out that they had leprosy. Because if you came into their space and they didn't call out, they would suffer for it. So they had to call us. That's what you call deep discrimination. And so Jesus went up to them and dealt with them. He lived for others. And finally, and this one was portrayed in that last passage we looked at. He willingly paid the ultimate sacrifice. In this, you remember this film that came out, the controversy was around it. Mel Gibson's portrayal of Passion of the Christ. There is a scene where it appears that Jesus is hugging up the cross. People question how realistic that is, but I mean it's film, so it's poetry, it's communicating a message. It's a reflection on how Jesus embraced the responsibility to give his life for the sake of others, give his life for our sake. So the portrayal we see is a portrayal, and how it happens in the text is just Father forgive them, and it's just in your hands. And Luke's portrayal says that Jesus did this simply. It wasn't with any fanfare or any fuss or any, neither was it with any reserve. Not that Jesus wasn't in anguish, he dealt with the anguish in the Mount of Olives. In Luke's Gospel, it says he prayed until his sweat was as if there were drops of blood. So I'm not saying there wasn't any happening. But having done that, when he faced the cross, it was a simple yielding of his life, and that is why he dealt with it in prayer. So we see in this portrait the demonstration of a deep simplicity. How do we evaluate our journey towards holiness, towards living the life of Christ in terms of this kind of sacrifice? The sacrifice, not just to have the humility to come among us and with one of us and identify with us, but to identify with us in this deep simplicity, where all of what we are encouraged and taught, the advertisements that, put it this way, you know, there are multiple narratives that are seeking to shape who we are, right? And one of the biggest texts, T-E-X-T, that impacts our life, perhaps oftentimes more than the text of scripture, is the text of advertisement. And advertisements have a way of telling you that if you are not living a certain way, you're not anybody. I don't know if you remember when we just reauthorized the lottery in this country, and there was an ad about how this man win, and he was driving this, whatever was the big vehicle at the time, and just dusting up everybody. You know, dust up people, you know, so you know, and so we're encouraged to frame all that. Look at the advertisements for certain products, and it portrays that if you don't have this product, you haven't nobody. You know, so nothing. And the message we get is that in order to be somebody, this is what we ought to have. And because of that, we embrace a way of life that really ends up suiting those who are pushing the advertisement, because they're not pushing it so much because of an interest in our well-being. It's because of an interest in the bottom line, but we buy the narrative and follow the lifestyle and end up moving away from the simplicity, further away from the simplicity towards the ostentation, towards the extravagance, towards the opulence. And by that, unfortunately, away from sacrificial living, away from looking towards something else. So, let's apply this a little bit more personally and practically. Richard Foster, I don't know if you've heard of him, he has written a book, he's written many books. One of them is called Celebration of Discipline, in which he looks at certain key spiritual disciplines that are foundational for the life of faith. One of which is simplicity. Simplicity is an outward discipline, how we manifest. He also has a book on simplicity itself called Freedom of Simplicity. You can never find any of them. You read them. Some of this reflects some of this thinking. Simplicity is therefore total dedication to God, which frees us from idolatry to materialism. Frees us from idolatry to materialism. Simplicity frees us from anxiety and from slavery to the latest craze and to the present fact. If you think about it, this is not the real back to school, but back to school at the start of the year was today, right? But back to school in September is a really big one. And if you, I don't know if it's still the case, but if you don't have a certain bag going back to school, when in? John's Sport. And all the boys, if you not, I don't know what's the latest one, but I remember when it was Timbaland. Is what? Simabo. Wow. They run the courts. If you not sporting this is how come you had a whole song about class. I see where there's a news item today that shareholders are challenging Apple. You know what is Apple, right? To do something about iPhone addiction. This is the world we live in, Okay? Because the way they design and the kind of interest that they generate in young people, many are addicted. So the question is being raised now, does something need to be done about dealing with addiction from a manufacturer's point of view? What it says is that this stuff has become so crucial to our lives that it's having the ability to be fenced. So, see, this thing that says, my total dedication is to God, so I want any idolatry to any of this stuff. In fact, simplicity will free me from anxiety about it. What Matthew said here, when the Father feeds them, birds, and therefore we're not in slavery. Part of the reason with just another comment on the iPhone, part of the reason that this pressure is coming on now, or another side to the story, is that there is an investigation launched against the Apple company for slowing down the older models. You didn't hear it? But you understand what this is about? So, my thing here would be considered as among the dinosaurs. But the idea is that you buy your something this year, and when you buy it, it's the latest thing here. But by next year, something new will have to come out. But if your thing is working good, you're not going to buy the new thing. So what they do is, as they push the upgrades and the software that you upgrade, in it, built into the software, is the slowing down of your old apparatus, such that you bring up the tires while this thing gets so old and slow and you throw it away and get a new one. It's part of how life is shaped and steered in the direction of attachment to the stuff. But if we have that total dedication to God that frees us from idolatry, from anxiety, and from slavery to materiality, materialism, when we live like this, everything will find its proper place. Because I'm not saying we don't need it, we don't use it. I do. But it is whether it is it that's using us right now. We using it, especially these days when they monitor everything. Do you realize that in the last 2 months, for example, that you can get the state of traffic on your phone, on Google Maps? All of a sudden, you can, in Jamaica, you can tell whenever Barbican is blocked. Oh, you know, all they have done is, we have these devices now, we have the GPS turned on, and they have a road network map, so when there's a cluster of them in one place, the software tells them. These things are, it shows you how deeply these things are taking hold of our life. When we live without that sense of dedication to the stuff, that sense of idolatry, anxiety, and slavery to it, the things can be used for proper and even liberating and helpful use. But outside of that, when we are given into it, boy, it's ripping us out. So we need to bear in mind the kind of approach that says, I am under God's control, I am not under control of this stuff. So, what are some inward things that we can say to ourselves and settle in ourselves that can help us to deal with this? One, whatever we have is a gift from God. Right? This is not what determines our lives or the be all and end all of our lives. It's a gift from God. So always God comes first. But not just that it is a gift from God. Whatever we have is to be cared for by God. This is an old story that Father used to tell. I'm marrying it with another little one. But the story he told, one of the stories he told, was of a old lady, long time, whose daughter lived abroad. And nowadays, to send money, apart from the Western Union and the whatever, people can just deposit the money in their account from anywhere. It's a no-fuss thing nowadays. But to send money to people 50, 60 years ago was... So, daughter used to send the money to pastor, and pastor would carry it and give her. So, pastor told her, say, your daughter right now, said she's sending some money for you to me, and as soon as it comes, I'll give you. So, old lady said, pastor, I'm glad to hear. When the money come, I'm going to give you a little piece for the church. So money come and pastor carried it to give old lady. And he was there with old lady for a while, and it was time for him to go. And he communicated that it's time for him to go at the door. And no old lady was said about the little piece. So he says to her, well, I'm going to have to go now, a couple more visits to do. You had promised that when the money came, you would give something to me for the church. Well, they say, pastor, tell you the truth. When me know me have the money, me did have the mind. But now that me have the money, me don't have the mind. The illustration is often made as well that the church brother, and we like to tell a story about a woman and tell one about a man too. The church brother prayed to the Lord for the hope. Pastor, help me pray to the Lord, I want to get a hope. And then brother John is a faithful member of the church and is attending the participation. And God helped Brother John get the house. And then all of a sudden, Pastor can't find him. And Pastor called him and said, well, Brother John, let me ask you. And Brother John said, Pastor, since we get this house here, I have a whole lot of time and take care of it. The stuff as a way of getting into our head, of getting to have priority over us. So we not only need to recognize that it's a gift from God, we also need to recognize that God will take care of it. God, it's God's own anyway, you know. So we don't have to give ourselves for its sake. God will take care of it. Thirdly, that the care that we are taking of it is not for ourselves, it's for God. Whatever we have is to be whatever we have will be cared for by God. But whatever we have is to be cared for God. When we are caring for what we have, it is not that we are beholden to, we are caring for it on God's behalf. So God always remains paramount. How about this? Whatever we have is to be used to serve others. Whatever we have is not just for ourselves. You know, say, and my blood, sweat, and tears get this. Of course, the blood, sweat, and tears were not created by us. It's where we get it from. But God has really entrusted what we have to us to use for the sake of others. There's nothing that we have that we can't fit into that perspective. Every single thing is for us to use to serve others. But even more than that, simplicity, we will go further down the road of simplicity and into the holiness that it enables when we see that whatever we have is to be made available for the use of others in God. So it's not just that we should use to serve others, but push come to shove. I mean, think about the man with the coat, and think about the man with the upper room. What they do? They had it, and what they had it for? They're empowered to be used by others in the service of God. When we have these kinds of attitudes internally, then the stuff won't have such a hold on us. We'll be better able to approximate and to move towards the simplicity that Christ manifested and that God requires of us. So let's make the final turn on to say what are some of the practical ways that we should live this out. How about this? Buy things for their usefulness, not for their status. Buy things for their usefulness, not for their status. I mean, I know, for example, the issue of quality, but sometimes we buy the same thing with the brand name. Brand names are big thing in this world. Oh my, what a nice handbag there. What brand is it? Oh, it's a cheap something. It's still carrying your stuff. You buy to come church, see it like any other Bible, like any other Bible. But it must have an imprint that requires a higher order of magnitude of money because you have to keep a certain status. Yeah, I think you will give it. I know there's an issue of quality. But, there is if it's the same thing, and if it can do the same thing and last just as good, but don't have the brand and it's not connected with the status, then there is no meaning. In fact, some of our youngsters, the sneakers that they buy, it's not too weird, you know. Some of these brand names, because you can't put it down in what they would walk through your thing that would make you something there. No, there build closets in the room that to have it on display. And this is a Jordan Air Season 6, whatever, X5 or something. We do buy it. So the shoes used to buy for wear, but shoes don't buy for style. Buy. I mean, I pick on one little thing, but I mean, it applies to all areas of life, all aspects of life. Second, buy things that are useful and not their status. Second, reject whatever causes addiction, whatever creates addiction. Anything that is creating addiction is not lending itself towards it. Tell you about this status thing. When how many telephone companies we have now? We have two big ones, right?
Too many.
When the Gigabit network came out, there was an ad where the scene was this party, and in order to enter the party, you had to have a phone of a certain quantity. You know that? Have you ever seen it? You probably don't even realize. But if you have what we call a bangers now, so the bouncer at the gate, the person who is keeping the gate to the party, when you're entering, you have to show them your phone. And if you remember that, and if you don't have the phone that's on the Gigabit network, you have to stay outside.
In fact, in the ad, somebody actually have to pass back a phone from out of the party to get to it, so that they could get. I mean, this is where the message that it is sending is that you should have. That is why one telephone company in this country, they are cost cheaper, but they have less subscribers. Think about it. Their cost, the cost when you have their phone is less, but more people have the one that costs more. Explain that for me in Jamaica always said before. Because you have to belong to the bigger better. Anyway, and that troubling people's but it's tough we need to think about. Okay, so buy things for their usefulness, not for their status. Reject whatever cause addiction. Third, watch the seduction of modern gadgets.
Yeah.
Watch it. I mean, you can have a gadget now that you can tell it to open your door, turn on the light, find out what's in your fridge. And really, all of them. My examination, my lecture analysis, my foolish analysis, that what these things really are. They advertise their usefulness. I mean, from the computer, cell phone, tablet. You know, in the main, what they primarily are, they are purchasing portals. That's what they are. The primary reason that they push them first, that they are purchasing portals. Even on your phone. How many times a day you get a text message that tell you you must dial so and so for this bonanza or something? How many times a day? And all of them. All of them. There is usefulness there, and if it is a reuse that you will need that you have for that usefulness. Fine. But watch how this thing, the way the gadgetry is working, that there is a gadget that you buy and you have to buy another gadget to operate that gadget. Or you go on to any of the websites that sells these things and you click on one that you're interested in, and then they say, people who buy this usually buy 3-4 other things with it. There's a seduction going on. 4, develop the habit of giving things away. How many things you have in your house that you have not used for the past 5 years and you will probably not use it? I don't want to mention the things in your closet. And I don't mean to give away the things that are not good. It's the stuff you have that are very useful, and then there are people who have real need and who make good use of it, but it's just sitting there. I mean, when we think of he has opened all oil fields along the Pacific to oil drilling. And this is when, just this evening, a BBC report that a certain turkey, it's a little thing that perhaps we have no concern about, but this greenback turkey, somewhere about 75 or 80% of them are now females. The male species are now, is that a joke to me? But the reason they're dying out is that the temperature at which the eggs hatch have an impact on whether it's male or female. And because the planet is warming and the water is warming, the women are better able to deal with the heat. So
females are so the population is set for a nosedive because the few males that are left are managed, but we don't care. So there is this slogan for the environmental movement that says, we should live simply so that others may simply live. But when we, Tobago, a small nation state, is water is bubbling up in the center of the island because it's a low-lying little island and the sea level is rising until it's coming up in people's homes. But we have our fossil fuels, it doesn't matter. So simplicity calls us to pay a little more attention to the care of creation. Do I need to tell you about be careful about buying things on credit? You know the tyranny of the credit card? Because somebody gives you spending power and you say you have the piece of plastic in your hand. Oh, I can't get the thing, man, I have to wait. But there's no money to pay for it at the end of the month because everything budgeted out already. And what is going to happen is that you can only pay the minimum payment and you're going to build up interest and before you know it, you have to go mortgage something to clear this and then the mortgage is up and it goes on and on. When, if we decide to live simply and wait till we can afford it, we will end up in that. Simplicity also is practiced by being plain and honest in our speech. Saying yes, no mean yes, no mean no mean. I don't mean that we shouldn't be wise and we should communicate carefully. I love how Nathan communicated with David, for example, or when they asked Jesus a question, he used indirection and told a parable. But in those methods, they were not telling the truth. Nathan got around to the place with David after I told him this story about the man and the sheep. And David said, oh, that man should be dealt with, and he said, you are the man. Not that he wasn't direct with it, was that he communicated carefully and strategically. We need more of that. Some of the, perhaps, for example, in the current wage negotiation, if there was more honest speech between the parties, we would find further progress. Refuse anything that leads to the oppression of others. How many of the name brand labels that we have were made in sweatshops in Bangladesh, where people are being abused to produce what we enjoy and run after. There is this movement called the fair trade movement, and it's a bigger thing in the US. I don't know how much it's really here, but where certain items have the fair trade label because they have investigated the whole supply chain. Is the farmer who is growing the crop getting a fair pay for like our Blue Mountain coffee, and the person who transports it and along right to the customer, let's have a fair price? Or is it something that is had in our Western society by the oppression of, I mean, even when we had our garment industry out here, that was a question. What sort of things we were putting our people through in order? Maybe we should raise the question now about the new growth thing is that the garment industry is what? BBO. And what we really mean is call centers, right? But we give it a fancy name, business process outsourcing. How are those youngsters being really treated? We refuse anything that leads to oppression of others. It's part of simplicity. And ultimately, shun whatever does not put God's kingdom first. Living simply is what Jesus said. God's kingdom was first. And that is what he taught. Seek first the kingdom. And that's how he lived. He lived for the kingdom. And if we are to achieve the holiness, the sacrificial living that is called for us in following the footsteps of Jesus, is to live with that kind of simplicity as well. These are my not so few words in Jesus' name. Boy, let's with me for a moment. God as human beings who live in this modern age. We are in passing the age of the baby boomers, as I said, it's gone, and the Generation X, and it's all about the millennials, and then now they are looking for the name for the next generation. And no matter what happens in our world is how we are a culture that extravagant ostentation, opulence. That's the it, that's the in thing, and if you don't have that, you are nothing and no one. And therefore, we have the proverbial rat race where we are striving for it. And when we really look into what that life offers, we realize that it is not compatible with your call to sacrificial living and to holiness. It's not in keeping with the call to pattern our lives after Christ and to do it so that we're able to reach those who would never make it anywhere in the rat race. In fact, those who the rat race tramples on. You call us to a life of simplicity, not just as from afar, you actually, in your incarnation in Christ, live the simplicity. And not even just as a demonstration, as a way of life, as the way to live. When we look at the catalog that the gospel writers provide of how you live, at every turn, you are living without the material being an idol. You are living without the anxiety or the slavery to stuff. Your holiness was a living symbol so that others could simply live. And this is what you're engendering in us, that we have the inner disposition that all that there is comes from you, that what we have is yours, and you will take care of it, and any care we should take of it is for you. So we can use what we have to serve others as you would have us to do, and in fact to make what we have available to others for their use. You're calling us radically to not seek after stuff for status but for usefulness, to not develop the kinds of attachments that we hoard and have stuff just for having its sake. We can appreciate things for their usefulness, and we can give away what we don't really need. We can care for the earth without avarice and greed, and we can refuse anything that oppresses others. We can choose to put your kingdom first in everything, and live with that equanimity, that balance that Christ gave that enabled him to present to us the picture of holiness into which you are calling us. So Lord, may your grace truly draw us into the life of simplicity. We remember, we don't forget, you are the model, you are the measure, and you are the means. We appreciate the model. We yearn to attain to the measure, and we yield to you as the means to make it reality. Through Christ we pray.